The single most important thing that will determine your future is your sense of who you are. Dr. K. In your body is this network of connective tissue, and it's called fascia. Now, how you move for a prolonged period of time is literally how your posture and your fascial muscular system will adapt. In other words, your physical body adapts to the exact movement patterns that you repeat over and over and over again. This is why most bodybuilders, most powerlifters, most absolutely yoked guys you see, they're stiffer than their neck looks. It's because they train the exact same linear movement patterns over the span of years and decades. Now, why is this relevant to the topic that we're talking about? Because success is a trained muscle too. And the patterns you train are going to dictate how your life is going to look. And this is actually where a majority of people get stuck. Most people have no idea how much significance their definition of one word has on their entire life. And that word is success. Success is created in the mind. If your compass isn't calibrated correctly, you're going to be going south and thinking you're going north. And that's where a lot of people have problems. It's not that they can't work hard. It's not that they don't have ambition. It's that their definition of how to achieve the good life is fundamentally flawed. The vast majority of people get stuck under this conformist, generic, collectivist, and unconscious belief of what success is. In other words, they haven't actually defined what success means to them on a personally meaningful level. The problem by defaulting to this generic programming of what success means is that they become stuck in linear movement patterns. And while they might start finding success, they're stiff, they're stressed, they're overworked, and they're burnt out because they defaulted to this generic programming of hustle and grind harder. And this idea is from Dan Martell. You're going to have to work. There's going to be pain, but whether you suffer or not is an entirely different question. You see, success is not a set of circumstances that happen to you, which is the mainstream view on it. You have to develop success as a trait. It's the exact same phenomenon of how lottery winners go back to being dead broke a year after winning the lottery. It's because they didn't earn their wealth. They weren't prepared for success. And realizing this should empower you, because we often get trapped in this cycle on YouTube where we think consuming more content is going to solve our problems. The content can only be an inspiration for insight, but ultimately you can't just copy someone else's path and hope to find success, because that's never how it works. Have you seen any successful person who has copied another person's path? No. They've tried imitating it, but somewhere along the way they realize that to make it to their own destination, their own unique destination, they have to chart their own path. And that's why no two successful people are ever nearly even remotely the same. And it's this self-doubt that we have in ourselves which actually prevents us from trusting our gut and going for the thing that sounds completely stupid because it's not been validated by someone who has already done it. And if you're trying to find success by imitating someone else, then you really risk selling your soul for it. Here are 3 traits of successful people and how to develop them. Number 1 is that successful people look beyond the surface of things. What is the surface of things? Take my channel, for example. I'm a small creator. I don't have that many subscribers. I've not been getting that many views up until now. And because of that, because my videos don't get 200,000 views, you're less likely to click on it. You're much less likely to click on it. We tend to trust sources less if they are not trusted by other people. We tend to watch things less if other people aren't watching them, right? Which makes total sense, right? It's social validation. But the point I'm trying to get at here is that on the surface level, I'm not a successful YouTuber yet. And I could easily tell that line to myself. What's the point? You know, why even do it? No one's watching, which I have told myself for a long time. But when I began looking beyond the surface and I inspected what was within rather than without, I started to realize I actually have something to share, and I actually feel that. I actually feel it. I don't even care if people say this advice is shit, if the video gets 13 views, but it's the fact that I chose to step into a version of myself that I was previously afraid of. And that's our journey of constant self-evolution. I know I'm not going to be happy when I make it on YouTube, because then I'm going to be looking for 10 million subscribers. I'm going to be looking to satisfy my next craving, But when you look beyond the surface of things, you realize a lot of the times, you think it's the result you want, but really it's who are you being underneath that? What is the passion behind the superficial reward of money, of followers, of fame? What is that passion behind of it? And this goes back to the point of what is success in a personally meaningful way to you? Number 2 is that unsuccessful people follow the norm, while successful people follow their intuition. And their intuition can look ridiculously stupid. Now we don't think Elon Musk is stupid, but think about 15 years ago. Send people to Mars? This guy's fucking bananas. And he's gonna fund it through electric vehicles? Bonkers. But I want you to notice that successful people have something inside of their heart that they feel. They feel that they need to bring forth into the world. And it's not because the world asks them to. It's quite the contrary. 99% of the time, the world will laugh at them, but they stick to their guts and they trust their intuition. And I think this is where the core of self-confidence comes from, is when you actually trust yourself and you develop that trust in your ideas, in your own self, in your own capabilities. That's when you strengthen your intuition and you learn to trust it more. Whereas unsuccessful people, they keep looking to the outside world to tell them what they should do. What job should I get? What degree should I get? How much should I eat for my diet? How much sleep should I get? How much should I train, right? Notice that stark difference in the lack of trust. It's the kind of trust relationship you have with yourself that determines your degree of success. Because if you don't trust yourself, you're never going to innovate. You're never going to dare to think bigger. You're constantly going to ask, does this look right? Does this look normal? And so an inner independence versus an outer dependence is really a huge quality that makes or breaks you in pursuing the life you want to create. Number 3 is that successful people are purpose first. Before we even talk about motivation, inspiration, creativity, consistency, discipline, we have to talk about purpose, because none of those other things matter without purpose. In fact, you are working against an impossible to swim upwards to the tide if you're trying to get all of these qualities if you don't have purpose first. Because when you have purpose, and purpose comes from you defining what freedom means to you, what success means to you, then your discipline, your consistency, your motivation, your inspiration will draw from that purpose. And you don't need to go out looking for, how do I become more consistent? How do I become more motivated? You're not motivated because you don't have an authentic, genuine purpose. If you had one and you defined one for yourself, you would actually wake up in the morning. You would actually go to the gym. You would actually film that YouTube video. You would actually start that business. But because you don't know, and maybe you're unwilling to find out, because obviously it's much more comfortable to be familiar with who you currently are, you think that to get more motivation, you have to become motivated. To become more consistent, you have to be more consistent. When really it comes down to first principles. Your foundation of your life is your philosophy behind it. And your philosophy is your purpose. We've talked about success, talked about wealth, we've talked about freedom, we've talked about realizing your potential. I want to leave off with one final thought, and it's that nothing in the world will ever satisfy you. Nothing of this physical world will satisfy you. Not women, not sex, not social media, not drugs, not alcohol, not big mansions, not cars, not even your dream life. What I mean by this is that if you're dependent on your outer circumstances to make you feel a certain way, then you're a slave to them. If you rely on wealth to feel successful, you will never be successful. Hopefully that makes sense based on the context of what we've discussed in this video. When you achieve enough of what you want to attain, you start to notice that all throughout your life, you've been going through these cycles of desiring, then attaining, of desiring, then attaining. In the spiritual practices in Buddhism, they call this the cycle of samsara, the wheel of suffering, right? The first thing the Buddha says is that desire is suffering. What he means is that so long as you are entranced by this illusion that attainments in your physical life will give you everlasting contentment and joy, then you'll be fooled over and over and over again until you break that cycle. I think the strongest way to break that cycle is to see how many times in your life where that's been the case. It's been the case since you were a kid, yelling, "Mommy, Daddy, I want that toy, I want that toy, I want that toy." Finally, you get it. You think life is complete. Oh my gosh, I could play with this all my entire life. A week later, you're crying because you want another toy. It's that same pattern into adulthood. But if you realize that, then you realize nothing outside of you can ever offer you what has been inside of you the whole time. And that is your purpose. That is your philosophy towards life. That is the way you choose to conduct yourself. That is the character traits you develop. That is how you show up to the world and who you choose to be. And all of it cannot be taken away from you because it's within you. And if you can operate from that inner state of contented purpose and use that state to pursue external success, then you will be on the right path. I've started a donation page. It's called the like button. If you would like to support the channel, please hit the like button. I appreciate you so much. I had fun making this one, a little bit different from my recent videos, a little higher production quality. But yeah, really getting into the groove of things, and I'm excited. See you in the next one.